Very good evening. You're watching Beyond the Headline. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. लेकिन आपको जाना कहाँ है? Do you dread that question whenever you book an Ola or an Uber cab? Are you one of the many people who are fed up of random cancellation of rides, then being forced to pay a penalty on a ride because the driver has decided to cancel but asked you to? The driver refusing to put on the air conditioning, refusing to accept online payments? The Consumer Protection Regulator, the CCPA, has now issued notices to cab aggregators Ola and Uber, asking them to explain why there is this massive deficiency in service. And the deficiency is quite apparent. A recent survey of 65,000 consumers has revealed that 71% of them say ride cancellation is a problem. 45% of users say they have paid 1.5 times or more on the same route because of surge pricing. Essentially, these services cost more when demand is higher. Let me just explain what surge pricing is, because we keep hearing about surge pricing, but we should understand why. So, these companies use algorithms which calculate your fare as per demand and supply. So when there is high demand, for example, at 7 in the evening in any large city, when everyone is leaving office, going home, the fare to your destination can be as high as 4 times the base fare as per some reports. The rule is that surge pricing should be capped at 1.5 times the base fare. So at this point, you either have the choice to pay more or wait it out. So is this as simple as the fault of the drivers, that all drivers are non-cooperative and that's why you have this problem? Let me also tell you what the driver's point of view is. Driver partners say that fuel prices are constantly increasing, but the fares that are charged by these companies, of which they get a share, have not increased at the same rate. That's why it's becoming more and more difficult for them to make money. They have to pay for the fuel price themselves, and there's been no increase in fare costs. They also complain that there's no redressal mechanism, which is very clear as far as the companies are concerned, to listen to their problems. There are no clear incentives and very opaque policies. They don't really know what's going to happen. They also say that the commissions that are taken by these companies are exorbitant. Let me also tell you what the rules are, the guidelines by the Road and Transport Ministry. So, according to the ministry, the fare division should be that the driver gets 80% and Uber or Ola 20%. So, suppose for every 100 rupees that you pay for these services, 80 rupees is supposed to go to the driver. Does that really happen? Surge pricing has to be capped at 1.5 times the base fare. Can it go higher than that? Is anyone checking if it's going as high as 3 and 4% or 4 times? They can charge only 50% lower than base fare. So these are all of those incentives you get and special discounts you get can be only 50%. That is half of the base fare. And the cancellation fee can be only 10% of the fare and not over 100 rupees. The question is, are all these points being followed? The bigger question we're going to explore today in the conversation is why this business model. Is there a problem there? Is there a problem in communication? What's going on? Lloyd Matthias, a business strategist and investor, is joining us on the show. I'm speaking today with advocate Shreyans Mamania, which, a petitioner who actually took Ola to court and won 15,000 rupees compensation from them. I'm going to hear his story in a bit. And I'm speaking today with Tanveer Pasha, who's president of the Ola Uber Drivers Association in Bengaluru. Lloyd, let me come to you first. And, just get your view on everything that we have laid out today. Is it a problem in the business model? Is it a lack of transparency? Or is it taking consumers for granted? Both these players have had a captive market all of this time.
Thanks, Tamanna. I think the basic issue largely is that, both the ride-hailing operators, I think they are, their typical business model is geared to a free market. Right. So what they're really doing is providing a marketplace for people who can operate the cab services and for consumers. I think where the CCPA has got it absolutely right is that the case of complaints specifically in the last couple of years has, escalated dramatically. I think almost everyone who's, ever used any of these services have had problems with, the drivers not responding or canceling last minute or demanding to be paid in cash. And a whole series of them. I think it's pretty public. I think that part is, absolutely, a real pain. And I think that needs to be addressed. The other part, which the CCP has to be a little careful about, is the fact that a lot of these companies are obviously not in it for the charity. They're here to make a profit, right? So therefore, part of the algorithms will have elements of surge pricing. Now, in terms of capping, I think that's justified. Capping, let's say, the upper limit to the surge pricing. Capping, putting some guardrails, I think, is absolutely justified by the CCP.
Lloyd, the allegation is that if the cap is supposed to be 1.5 times, it's going much higher, as high as 4 times.
I think that is completely unjustified. But in a sense, the whole principle of ride-hailing and a free market economy is giving the business the leverage to operate in a way that makes it worthwhile for them, right? Because they're actually playing a fine balancing act between people who offer their services, which are cab drivers, and people who avail of the services, which are normal consumers. So I think that flex is there. I do understand the rationale of, really black market pricing, so to speak, 4 times, 6 times is completely irrational and off the cuff. There has to be some guardrails in that context. But I think respecting and understanding the larger business framework is important. These are companies that have actually, made transportation much more effective for loads of people across India. And I think that aspect has to be conceded. But
all that's great. We're eternally grateful. But, the service has to actually appear. The reason that Ola and Uber became so popular, and if many of you will remember, is because at that time you had this problem with local taxis. At least I can speak about it from the Mumbai perspective with the Kali Pilis, which just refused to go everywhere. And you had this service which you could book online, where you were assured of what kind of vehicle you were getting. You were sure there would be an air condition. You were sure they would reach. And they actually turned up. If they don't turn up, where is the service? I want to get Tanveer Pasha in. He's president of the Ola Uber Drivers Association. Tanveer, explain to us why drivers are doing this. Because the common man or the common consumer of these services just sees the driver not adhering to any rules. The most distressing thing is the driver calling up to say, "Aapko kahan jana hai?" and then telling you, "Please cancel the ride, I don't want to go there." Why does that happen? Can you please explain to us?
I tell you, Tamanna, this is, please, I request everybody, don't blame on the driver. When you are booking from the company, please blame on the company, not to the driver, because abhi agar driver kahin se, if he is coming from 1 hour or after 2 hours journey, completing a trip, immediately agar usko booking pad gaya, if he is getting a new booking, he is not ready to take, because it is not easy job after completing 2 hours traveling in a traffic jam or somewhere else. He needs some 5-10 minutes of break. And nobody will ask whether he is interested to take the call or not.
No, so if he wants a break, why is he taking the call? Don't take the ride. If you want a break, shut it off.
No, before sitting, if booking comes, what we have to do?
Don't you have a choice to shut it off?
No, we don't have.
1 second. You're saying you don't have a choice not to take a ride. That's not what the companies claim. That's not how the app works.
No. Who said that? That options are there. Today, Uber implemented that only where the destination is. Exactly. Even we don't know which destination we are going towards.
No, so if there is a destination that you don't want to go to, are you saying you're forced to take every ride? You have to take every ride.
Our rating will go down.
I'm not talking about otherwise what will happen. Forget about the consequences. Do you have a choice, or do you have forced to work?
I am telling the same, like that is the reason driver rejects the trip.
Okay, so that's a different story. Mr. Pasha, that's a different story. You're saying this is the reason we reject the trip. I'm listening to the reason, but you're saying there's no option. There is an option. You're saying there's a penalty for exercising that choice. I want to just get Lloyd in. I want to get Lloyd in quickly. Lloyd, can you come in? Yeah, 1 second. Lloyd, come in quickly on this point, because this is everyone's biggest grouse. That if the driver doesn't want to go,
no, I also just wanted to clear to the public as well as you that this is not a driver's problem.
No, it is, right? If you're accepting a ride that you don't want to take, it is your problem. 1 minute. I want to go to Lloyd on the reasoning which has been given. He is saying that if we drop rides, we don't accept, then our rate of acceptance goes down. It affects our performance, it affects our rating, it affects our incentives. That's why they accept the ride, then call and ask you, where are you going? And then tell you to cancel if they don't want to go there. Someone needs to fix this.
Absolutely. I think that is unjustified. I think both the apps, as I understand,
1 minute, Mr. Pasha.
they give drivers the option. They give the drivers the option, supposing their day's shift, they give the drivers the option to indicate that these are preferred areas and this is the time they'll wind up. So they get that option. But I think a driver accepting a trip and then calling the customer and saying, you cancel it because I don't want to go there, I think that is completely unjustified. And that cannot be put at the fault of the ride-hailing operators. That is fundamentally a driver problem.
Okay, Mr. Pasha, respond to that. That's fundamentally a driver problem, is what Mr. Matthias is saying.
Driver was not aware of the destination point, which place he is going to. He accepts and he'll get the confirmation. Today, Ola application has launched that exactly where the destination is, which shows in the application from today, not before. Even Ola today, we cannot see where our destination. We have to accept and we have to call and ask, where have to go, sir? When I am opposite direction of my house, or I am tired, I can't move to that bigger location, longer location, then I have to cancel it. That is not a driver problem. That is an aggregator problem. Please, again and again requesting, don't blame on the drivers.
Okay,
Drivers are working
1 minute.
between the mediator.
No, 1 minute. It's not about blame. At the end of the day, if consumers are upset beyond a point, they will not take on these services. The driver will suffer, the aggregators will suffer, the whole ecosystem will suffer. How will you run a service when you're not fulfilling your promise again and again? Shreyans is joining me. Shreyans, can you hear me now? Do you have a clear line?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. I know there's a lot of noise around you, but I'm keen to ask you about your story. Now, I believe that you sued one of the companies. You took them to court and you were granted a compensation. Tell us what happened.
Actually, when I booked one cab from Kandivali to my home destination at Lalbagh.
In Mumbai?
And yes, in Mumbai. So when I booked the cab, the fare was showing as 372 rupees. However, upon my arrival, the driver demanded 434 rupees. So I clearly asked him that on my app it was showing 372 rupees. That is the reason I booked it. However, all of a sudden he said, no sir, it is system based. We can't do anything. You have to pay. Otherwise, I'll have to shell out from my pocket. So I was like, not to cause any loss to that poor driver. So I paid it. Then I sent legal notice to the Ola. However, they failed to reply to the same. So since I was left with no other option, I had to approach consumer court to seek justice. And after hearing me at length, the consumer court was of the opinion that I should get the reimbursement of the difference of amount which I had paid to Ola, that is 62 rupees. Plus, I should also be compensated with a sum of rupees 10,000 towards harassment and 5,000 towards litigation costs.
Okay.
And all this took 6 months of time to get the fair
No,
justice.
but you're one of those people. You're one of those people because perhaps you're a lawyer that you persisted for a difference of 62 rupees and you got that compensation. Shreyans, there are so many people who just let it go because they're so busy. They're like thankful they finally got the cab and they move on with their life. Do you think that there is any hope that there will be a redressal of these complaints?
Yes, I am 100% sure, because when this thing got published in midday as well as when it came on social media platform, I got numerous phone calls and messages from across the country. I got calls from Ludhiana, I got calls from Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, everywhere. Everyone was facing the same problem that, sir, we booked the cab and at that time some X amount was showing. And when we arrived at one destination, some Y amount was charged to us. And we were helpless and we cannot even bear litigation costs. So we thought of rather than paying something to lawyer, we should pay to that Ola guy and let's move on. Yeah. So then few of them have also encouraged and I have also guided few people who are now approaching consumer courts to seek justice. Now let's see, fingers are crossed. Yeah. And I'm sure there are 2-3 people, if I'm allowed, if I can name them, they are in the process of filing consumer complaints.
No, don't name them because if something is not in the courts yet, we should not name them. We're speaking to you, Shreyans, today to get a sense of the scope and the extent of the problem. So I'm going to thank you for joining us in, and I'll allow you to get back to your evening and continue the conversation with Lloyd and Tanveer. Lloyd, some of the issues that we need to look at over here, and it's very easy to be dismissive of the driver, saying that they are at fault. At the end of the day, they are the ones who have to drive to make the money. There seems to be a very clear breakdown in communication or lack of transparency in communication on the part of the aggregators. We'll have to admit that. Why should the driver not be able to see where the destination of his ride is? Why is this happening now? I mean, Uber made that announcement yesterday. Pasha is telling us that Ola has done it today. This should have been a standard feature. Yeah, Uber has done it now. This should have been a standard feature.
Valid point, Tamanna. I think the point we are completely missing, though, is that the differentiation that the aggregators have bought versus the traditional, the Kali Pili model or the unorganized cabs as we once had, was there were some clear consumer issues that consumers were facing when it came to hiring cabs, right? For one, it was location, right? People didn't want to go, a lot of cabbies didn't want to go short distance. Two is people want cashless transactions. In this age when we are transacting everything digitally, you want cashless transactions. Third, you want a hygienic, a standard service, hygiene, air conditioning, and basic stuff. And that's the reason why a lot of consumers nationwide have switched to the ride-hailing services. The moment we pull them back to a common denominator and says, no, you operate exactly like the Kali Pili, I'm going to give a driver a choice whether he wants to go to a particular place or not. I'm going to give the driver a choice whether he wants to run air conditioning or not. I'm going to give a driver a choice saying that he doesn't want to accept cashless transaction. He wants hard cash. I think then the whole purpose is defeated. And I think we have to recognize that this is a distinct service. And yes, there are problems, but a lot of consumers have actually benefited. And I dare say a lot of drivers
we are melting with gratitude, Mr. Matthias, for all the benefit. We're eternally grateful. But a service has to continue to deliver each and every time. It can't be good for a few years, and then today, when it's just not ticking the boxes, we will remember its past glory. That's not how the service industry works. I'm sure the people in these companies know that as well. But I'm not done with Tanveer Pasha. Mr. Pasha, I want to understand some other things. So you said that drivers take these rides because till now, they could not see where they were going. And if they cancel them, and if they don't accept rides, then their incentives suffer. So, okay, I take that point on board. What about refusing to put on the air conditioning? What about things like, 1 minute, what about things like, I will not take I will not take online payment, I will take only cash? I mean, that's just unfair.
Okay. We can't say before knowing anything fair and unfair, because today we are living in a country and the ruling of the parties are what political parties are doing fair or unfair. We are not raising the voice, and we are raising the voice.
Mr. Pasha, I mean, today today we're talking about this subject.
Yeah, that's right.
When we talk about what political parties are doing, we can have a different conversation.
Let me speak
Why don't you speak about what I'm asking you, sir?
Definitely I'm ready. But why people only at middle class or lower class people? That one more question I added into it. I'll clear the answer.
Why don't you clear it first, sir?
Yeah, exactly. I'll do it. First, why they are refusing what you said, and second thing, the switching on the AC. First of all, drivers are very panic about the coronavirus.
Oh dear.
So whether
okay.
Still panic about the virus. So they are not ready to switch on the AC. Point number two, why? One more reason is there why they are not switching on the ACs, because our prices are saying, commissions of the aggregators are saying every day fuels prices are going up, our earnings are going down every day. And if we switch on the AC, 4 kilometers we will drop. Some drivers of 30 to 20 to 30%, they think about their savings. That is the reason They don't want to switch on the AC. And the third
But
point,
Mr. Pasha, if you are taking up a service, I understand all of these problems, but अगर इतनी दिक्कत हो रही है तो आप क्यों चला रहे हो? मत चलाइए ना. If there's no money to put on the AC, then don't promise that you're going to provide an air-conditioned cab.
promising, aggregators are promising, we are not promising.
But why are you agreeing to that service then? If I'm
Tamanna-
asked to do something I don't want to do, I will just not do it after a point. How can
महीने
you
में
agree to do it and then not?
तो वो नहीं मिल रहा है, कौन उसके बारे में आवाज, कौन उठा रहा है आवाज? कोई नहीं उठा रहा है.
No.
किसको ब्लेम करेंगे?
No, Mr.
हम
Pasha.
जितना
If a driver says, if a driver partner says, 1 minute, I think I'm losing your audio, but why don't you listen to me first? If a driver partner says that, putting on the air conditioning is not working for me, there are options of non-AC cabs also on the apps. Put your car under that category. Or if they still insist, if it's costing too much, then you have to find another livelihood. You cannot promise a service which you just do not want to fulfill.
No. We don't have any options in it. हर कोई बचाना चाहता है, हर कोई बचाना चाहता है पॉकेट से. 20-30% drivers are trying to save it. It is not wrong.
It is not wrong not to put on the AC when you've promised to do it.
We
correct.
have not aggregators have promised. Ask them, no.
But you are
Right.
working for them. You are working for them. So 1 minute, Lloyd, so this is not making any sense. This is not making any sense. If the drivers are going to just do their own thing and the aggregators are not responsible for, actually giving the service you're paying for, then what is this business model? How is it working?
See, madam, what I am.
1 minute. I've asked the
I-
question to Lloyd now. Mr. Pasha, wait now. I've asked the question to Lloyd.
Yeah, I think the point that Mr. Pasha is making is completely incorrect. Because I think if an operator working with a cabbie working with an operator has a problem about the things of his air conditioning, if he believes that he wants cash, it doesn't work, or he wants to actually know the location in advance to work to his advantage, then he might as well become a private taxi operator like the regular taxis. I think once you come onto the platform, and I think part of the agreement is that you fulfill what the platform promises, right? If it doesn't become viable, you have the option of taking your taxi private. So I think the whole premise of Uber and Ola and any aggregating service is they promise a certain thing to the consumer and that needs to be delivered. And just moving the choice back and saying that a taxi driver can get the choice of location, he can get the choice of whether he wants AC or non-AC, he can get the choice of whether it's cash or through a mobile wallet, I think defeats the entire purpose. So it just doesn't make sense. And I think that's just a sure way of killing the entire business model of aggregation. So I really completely disagree with what Tabir Pasha is saying.
What about Mr. Pasha not taking online payment and insisting on cash? What's the reason for that?
When see, it is disagreeing is a different thing. I am not agreeing with supporting Ola and Uber. There are drivers who every day depends on them.
But sir, what am I asking you? Why are drivers refusing to take online payment?
Because let me complete you. After 48 hours, they will complete the settlement. After 48 hours, if they need to feed their kids or if they need to pay the rent or buy the groceries, they will ask. Obviously, everybody will ask for the livelihood, for the daily, whatever the expenses of milk or groceries or any other expenses. If they don't get whole day any cash payments, they will ask something to buy for their children, for their dependents.
No, so what I'm gleaning from this, Mr. Pasha, and full sympathies with people who are trying to make a living.
Drivers are not
No, full
richest
sympathies
people in
with
the world, madam.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Don't give this a class angle. It's not. It's not. Don't give it that angle. Don't give it that angle because that's not the case. It's not like the rich are the only ones using Ola and Uber. Middle class is using it. All sympathies with driver partners. I'm questioning the business model. Is this business model working?
Business model is totally wrong.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to understand.
Totally
Mr.
wrong.
Pasha, please calm down. Please calm down. Please, sir. It's okay. It's a Friday evening. We're trying to understand this issue. I don't know why you're screaming.
No. I'm not screaming.
I'm not booking your taxi and making you go anywhere else. You're already home. So wait.
No.
Wait. Let me just wrap up. Let me just wrap up. My point is that is the business model working if the people implementing it, the driver partners, are not agreeable to any of these conditions? This is a very serious question that needs to be answered. And a little cosmetic change here and there that now, we've changed things in the app and we'll increase things, which has been announced, that will not cut ice. There needs to be a very significant change in the way this business functions. So on that note, we'll take a very short break on the show, but I'm coming back with all the other top stories of the day. Don't go away.